Good evening to all. I welcome all the dignified participants to the 114th web training session of CBSE Bharat Sahodaya. Now it's my pleasure to introduce today's moderator, Ms. Himani Bakshi. Ms. Himani has a decade of experience as a teacher of English language and literature. She is a master in English literature from the prestigious Lady Sri Ram College, Delhi University. She has been actively involved in promoting holistic education and experiential learning among students. She is currently working as a high school teacher of English language and literature at Modern School, Bharagamba Road, New Delhi, and she is also a subject coordinator for class 6 to 10. Ms. Bakshi has been training students for public speaking, theater, and various co-curricular activities. She recently rendered her service as observer in National Achievement Survey 2021 and was also a member of result compilation panel of her school for class 10 CBSE board examination 2020. So Himani ma'am, I wholeheartedly invite you to moderate this grand session. Please ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, Arun sir, for your kind words. I'm truly humbled. Thanks a lot.
Over
I
to you.
would first and foremost like to extend my gratitude to Dr. Abdul Salam and CBSE Bharat Sahodaya Complex for giving me this coveted opportunity. I also extend a very warm welcome to all the participants. It is indeed a pleasure to have each one of you as an integral part of the webinar. As we embark together on this enlightening journey of pertinent discussion regarding institutional culture, personality at work in the 114th web training series. Continuing with its plethora of endeavors, the CBSE Bharat Sahodaya Complex community, along with today's remarkably talented resource person, Madam Ritu Bhandari, will seek to provide valuable inputs in this session regarding the collective mutual shaping patterns of norms, values, practices, beliefs, and assumptions that guide our behavior in an institution. One of the salient features of today's webinar is to examine the influence of institutional culture, personality, and motivation on employees' organizational commitment, either individually or jointly. A large number of personality characteristics like fairness, honesty, discipline, happiness, creativity, etc., are inherently bestowed in every individual. The realization and honing of these traits require constant hard work. Personality characteristics are the dimension and structure which describe an individual's channels of thinking, attitude, and emotions. Nowadays, individuals, especially educators, face bigger challenges in personal enhancement and achievements. In today's webinar, we are going to reflect on these pertinent issues and seek resolution that will help us to propel to greater heights. But before we surge ahead with the session, I would like to draw your kind attention to some notable pointers for the smooth conduct of today's session. Kindly keep your device cameras switched on for the session. Any query in the midst of the session can be conveyed through the meeting chat box. In order to have an interactive experience, you may dispel your doubts by asking questions at the end of the session. Kindly virtually raise your hand and wait for your name to be called out for asking your query. The participants will have the opportunity to receive certificate only after filling up the certificate and feedback form, the link for which will be shared at the end of the session. Kindly stay connected till the end of the session. At this juncture, on behalf of all of us present in this webinar, I would like to thank Dr. Salam for empowering us with such enlightening sessions. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Dr. Abdul Salam, the General Secretary of CBSE Bharat Sahodaya Complex. Dr. Salam is a visionary and leader par excellence. With more than 2 decades of experience, Sir holds pivotal positions. Besides being the prestigious principal of the Oxford Public School Trivandrum, Sir is the CBSE resource person and deputy training coordinator of Trivandrum region. His sincere and altruistic ventures for academic fraternity are commendable. Sir, I would humbly like to request you to take over and deliver the welcome address.
Thank you, Ms. Himani Bakshi. Good evening, each and everyone present here today. Well, we are very happy to introduce two new faces to the community. They are both are from the English background, serving the student community for many years. So on everybody's behalf, I extend a hearty welcome to both of them, Himani ma'am and ma'am. Very best. And when we were discussing with Ritu ma'am, what should be the topic we have to, on, I immediately said it should be something which every teacher can contribute. Their institution is theirs, and it is each and everyone's responsibility to contribute to the culture of the institution. Though I think, am I audible, Himani ma'am?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Hello?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So, because institutional culture refers to, the A to Z of schooling, wherein teachers, we educators have a greater role. But why then personality at work and institutional culture, how they go hand in hand? We have to keep one thing in mind, that we are having a great mission with us. We are not just preparing children for their what do you call their exams and all, but we are preparing students for their life, where we each and everyone has greater responsibilities. Everybody is unique, and each educator has a unique personality. But often, we are wondering, just keeping in mind of the recent incident of CBSE first term examination, wherein some states, not one state or so, many states or many schools have resorted to they wanted to promote all the students with good marks. So we were wondering, we were even in our groups as well. So what is as an educator? We are, and also this is known to the students, this is known to the parents, and it is known to everyone. And so what sort of personality or what sort of values we are upholding as an institution, as an educator? This is something which we have to ponder over. Definitely, everybody would like to their students to come up with flying colors, definitely, but for which we have to combinedly, we have to make efforts. But rather than that, we they cannot take shortcuts. Definitely that is giving a wrong message to the students. So we are not actually creating unique individuals in that case. So let's keep this in mind. And Bharat Sahodaya thought of having this session because difference in the system. So thank you so much for your presence. Over to Himani. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for your enlightening words, sir. They truly guide us and inspire us. Ladies and gentlemen, amidst us, we also have the distinguished program collaborator, Mr. Biju S. Pillai. Mr. Biju S. Pillai is a treasurer of Bharat Sahodaya. He has a vast experience in the field of education in many capacities, including being the principal of many reputed CBSE schools. Sir, we are honored to have your gracious presence amidst us. I request Mr. Biju S. Pillai to felicitate the gathering with his kind words.
Thank you, Himani ma'am. Respected General Secretary, Dr. Abdul Salam sir, respected resource person of the day, Ritu Bhandari, language facilitator, certified soft skill trainer, and Google certified educator, Himani Bakshi English, a teacher in secondary level, dear principals, vice principals, coordinators, teachers and friends. As usual, we have came out with a wonderful and essential topic, highly influencing the academic and moral side of the children, institutional culture and personality at work. Now, actually, why be concerned about the institutional culture in school, how it influences the dignity of the school? About these and much more, we can hear from our respected resource person. Definitely, each institution has a vision and mission. So understanding those values and to inculcate those values to the children, a gang of teachers having long-term experience in that particular school only can carry out these qualities in the children. So the first primary factor in my opinion is that those teachers should actually understand what is the institutional culture and how that long-term institutional culture brought out by the management and the institution can bring drastic changes, miracles in the new generation. So I am not extending my words. I just hand over to Himani Bakshi ma'am. We can know much more about this from our respected resource person. Once again, I welcome all respected personalities to our Bharat Sahodaya platform. Have a wonderful day to all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your enlightening words of wisdom. Ladies and gentlemen, now we shall proceed to the pièce de résistance of today's webinar. Our esteemed resource person today, Madam Ritu Bhandari, will guide us and help us understand the impact of individual personality traits on institutional culture and its dimensions at the workplace. Madam Ritu Bhandari is a learner at heart, an English language facilitator by profession, and a soft skills trainer by choice. Today, she speaks in the capacity of a soft skills trainer. She has conducted around 4,000 hours of training workshop, both as an educator and a soft skills trainer. She is currently working as the Senior English Language Faculty with NKBPS Rohini, Delhi. She is a proud recipient of the British Council International School Award for 3 consecutive years and the Tony Blair Face to Faith Gold Award in video conferencing. Her overwhelming experience in teaching, guiding, and counseling has helped her develop a deep understanding of the expectations of not only students, but even parents and peer educationists. She is also Google for Education Level 1 educator. Ma'am, we welcome you. I request you to kindly take over the proceedings for the session.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for that kind introduction, Himani. At the very onset, I'd first like to thank Dr. Abdul Salam and Mr. Biju Pillai for this wonderful opportunity. This platform connects educators from across the country, and it is definitely a privilege to have this opportunity to present my learnings and learn from the educators present here. So I'll like to share my screen, not wasting any more time. I'd go ahead with the presentation so that we can proceed. Is the screen visible, Himani?
Yes, ma'am, the screen is visible.
Okay. So institutional culture and personality at workplace. This is a topic which is of great interest. I can see there are around 300 participants, and it is an honor that you have taken out time from your busy schedule. All of you are educators, teachers, principals, vice principals from across the country. And it is a great honor that you have taken out time for this session. I hope I prove worthy of the time you have taken out, and I am able to provide some useful information. As Himani had just informed, that I'm a learner at heart, because that's the core of any educator's personality. Until and unless there's no learning, yearning for learning, we as an educator will not be able to transcend the same expectations and the same desires to our students. But today, despite around 2 decades of education experience, I speak in the capacity of a certified soft skill trainer. And I am being a learner. I would say I've done a lot of research. I've tried to keep the whole presentation short and crisp so that by the end of the session, we have time for a question answer round. Himani would also assist us in case there are questions in between. But the ideal way would be, in case a question is supposed to be asked, I would like you to raise your hand and Himani would be able to assist you, or maybe write the answer in the chat box. So what are we going to talk about? The talking points, what institutional culture means, the foundations of a strong school culture. Institutional culture could vary. It could be corporate, it could be a hospital, it could be any institution. But the focus of this presentation would be the school, because we are addressing educators. So our target audience would be related to education, why it is important, and the personality traits that help build a positive culture. We'll be talking about them. There are a number of personality traits, but we'll be focusing on 4 major personality traits. The first and foremost being integrity, collegiality, honest communication, which nowadays is a bit lacking, and empathy, which I believe we can't do without. Now, when we talk about such an important, a heavy topic, institutional culture, it seems as if the whole presentation is going to be filled with jargon. But as an educator, and if a few of my students were here and my colleagues, definitely they're here, they know that whenever I'm in a class, the class has to be interesting and enriching and fun. So even if it's an important topic, it can be dealt in such a manner that it can engage you. I'm showing some photographs, some snapshots. I'll take a minute and allow you to think about it and see whether it brings a smile on your face. The first photograph, it definitely does when I see this. Anybody can answer which place is this? And why am I talking about Disneyland when it comes to institutional culture? Does any one of you know how many Disneylands are there in the world? And why do I ask that question? I'll tell you the relevance in a while. Any guesses how many Disneylands are there in the world? Had it been a school classroom, we would have told the students quickly Google it out and you'll be able to find that. But definitely it adds to some knowledge, even if they Google it. So any answers, Himani, in the chat box? Do we have? How many Disneylands are there in the world?
Ma'am, we have got answers like 11, 1, 13.
Okay.
So they're all divided.
Okay, so it's just a guess, I guess. There are 6 Disneylands in the whole world. There's California, one in California, one in Florida, Tokyo, Paris, Hong Kong, and China. But why am I talking about Disneyland? The next step when I was preparing this presentation, I wanted to know what would the workplace of Disneyland look like? What would be the office structure? And I tried to Google. Any guesses? How would it look like? Any guesses? How would it look like? Would it have a setup, a proper office setup with cabins or maybe colorful cabins? But the point was that this is the workplace. The workplace itself is Disneyland. How does that make any relevance in this topic? I want you to keep these images in mind. The next image is that. What do you think this is? Any guesses? What could this be? Could it be, say maybe because there's some cafeteria area here? Any idea? Is it an office? Is it a restaurant? Is it a lounge?
Ma'am, we have people saying that it's a lounge, reception area, workspace. These are
okay, a reception area. Absolutely. It looks like a reception area maybe, but you'll be amazed to find this is actually Twitter's office. This is the office of Twitter. Again, what relevance? We'll come to that as we subsequently proceed. This is, and I could see a few wows in the on the camera, that could this be a workplace? And if it would be, wouldn't the output, how would the output be affected? So we'll come to that. Now, we talked about workplaces in terms of the way they appear. We talk about, it seems we are concentrating on the furniture, we're concentrating on the surroundings. Is there anything else that makes the workplace either interesting or difficult, apart from the furniture, apart from the surroundings, apart from the environment? What makes the environment congenial for us to work? Any replies, Himani?
Ma'am, we have plants, people,
Okay.
homely, comfort.
Okay.
So these are the answers.
So we have people. Do you think without people, a culture or an environment would matter? No. What about this situation? Is it a happy place? The scene, is it depicting a happy place to work? It doesn't seem like. It seems like it's a stressful time. So just keep these images in mind and we'll come back to them and I'll give you something to think about. So talking about the talking points, we're going to cover the first one first, what institutional culture means. And it seems, just a minute, culture is something that is difficult to define, yet everyone recognizes it when they experience it. Is it so? If you do agree, kindly give a hand raise, a virtual hand raise, or if you think one can't recognize it, one can't experience it, then you may kindly just raise. I see a few hands risen, yes. So culture is something difficult to define, yet Everyone recognizes it when they experience it. I give you an analogy similar to how you get a sense of someone's personality. By looking at them, you can determine the culture of an organization. When I say them, I mean the people that work there. Remember the first day when you set foot in any organization for an interview. The first essence you feel, whether it has to do with the arrangement of the furniture, whether it has to do with how the people welcome you, how you're greeted at the reception, what the employees are wearing, and how they're talking, you get an idea at the very onset that yes, I belong here, or no, I think so, I would like to check again. So the members of an organization also, they also tend to pick up on the culture of that organization sooner than they ever imagined. We'll see that as well. Now, what does the culture of an organization constitute? Any ideas? Quickly. Is it only about how employees interact? Is it how they operate? And speaking in terms of any institution, the culture would comprise the firm's basic, the school's basic personality, the sense of how its employees, teachers communicate and carry out various processes to achieve collective goals. In a school, at times many a times we have to work in teams. And we as teachers are expected to teach our students the 21st century skills, out of which collaboration is one very important skill. But until and unless we don't deliver in that manner, they may not be able to perceive that in a positive manner. It can also be defined as a self-sustaining pattern. It determines how things are done in an organization. For example, how question papers are finalized. In some school, when we get together, suppose, so I'm going to take always an example from the school. So when we get together for, suppose, a webinar, the teachers, or a workshop, an offline workshop, we usually talk about how are things happening in your school? How do you finalize the syllabus? How do you finalize the question paper? In some schools, it would be maybe it's direct instructions that are given and no changes are expected in that. So there's no democratic vision of that school. I will not be naming any schools, but this is what the culture of the school also encompasses. It talks about how things are done. This is how we work here, is usually the cliched way of saying that this is the culture of our institution. Now we talked about Walt Disney, where the happiest place on earth is the happiest place to work. It's not just one of the most recognizable brands, it's also the kindest community. So you have to have that value system and the ability to be happy in no matter what situation. Many may say, is it only the responsibility of the employees to be happy? What about the institution, the leaders? They also have to consider employees as their greatest assets. The major stakeholders of the education industry are not only the students, but the teachers. So the teachers and the students have to be well taken care of, just like any employee of any other firm. And when we talk about, say, the next Twitter, here, where fun meets inspiration. The moment I said it's an office, you could see a smile on so many faces, because here it seemed that it believes, in fact, it doesn't seem, but it is where fun meets inspiration. They believe that if the employee is happy to be in the workplace, they'll be able to deliver better. Doesn't that happen in our classes also? When we are teaching, the teaching should be so impressive that the students should yearn to be in your class. If it's a happy teaching, they would like to be in your class and not miss a class. So, taking an example from India, Tata, Starbucks is committed to upholding a culture where Starbucks hires many women looking to looking to resume their careers after a break. And they offer several flexible work options. Their diversity is valued and respected. So there are a number of examples. Now, we will be relating to this with personality in the coming session part. And after understanding all that we could through these images and explanations, I would like to say we can easily agree to this definition that institutional culture is a set of attitudes, values, goals, and practices that characterize an institution. So the institution may be a school, it could be any other organization as well. So Himani, I'll be I'd request you to please paste a Menti link in the chat box, so that now that we've understood what culture means, I would like to see what do they grasp, what do the audience have in mind when we talk about institutional culture. Though there are many hints out there, but still one speaks from one's own experience. So I hope that the link has been shared.
Yes, ma'am. The link has been shared in the chat box.
Sure.
Dear
So
participants, you can access the link from there. Yes, ma'am. Over to you.
And this is what and in case you're comfortable with the QR code, you can scan it from here and access the link. The question is, and those who are unable to go to the link, they can write in the chat box. I have pasted the question here as well. What do you think constitutes a progressive, positive institutional culture? I have deliberately picked up these terms, progressive and positive, because we are here to talk about the positive cultures, and whatever we don't talk about, that negates all that we would require in a negative culture. This is what we look forward to. Answers, you can write 1 or 2 words, whatever you would feel like, and let's see what the answer comes to. I will share the results in a minute, and you may have a look at it. So here we have so many answers. And Himani, we can see collaboration, empathy rules. If you see empathy, happiness, and collaboration is standing out. In this word cloud, the ones which are bold, they are the most cited ones. So we can zero in on happiness, empathy, and collaboration, and freedom of expression as well. Thank you. Thank you so much. So would anybody like to tell us what do they mean by empathy here? Empathy in particular. Is there anybody who would like to unmute and answer that? And then we could go on to those personality traits and how to work out our positions when we are in a difficult position. I think so Rupali has raised her hand. Rupali Zopa.
Rupali ma'am, could you please unmute yourself?
Yes, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I speak in Hindi?
Absolutely. Why not, ma'am?
Yes. मतलब किसी को अगर हेल्प चाहिए तो हम उसके तरफ सिर्फ देखते रहते हैं, लेकिन उसके पास जाने के बाद या जाना है, मुझे उसको हेल्प करना है, वो हम नहीं सोचते. तो वो जो भी है उसको अपनी तरफ से जितना समझा सकते हैं उसको समझ लेते हैं. It's a empathy.
Empathy. So if we take, I think I'll translate that answer and also answer in Hindi as well. What I mean to say is that we have to put ourselves in the shoes of the other person to understand what he or she is going through. अगर उसको समझ नहीं आ रहा है तो हमें उसकी लेवल पे आके समझाना पड़ेगा कि हम इस सिचुएशन को इस तरह से देख सकते हैं.
Yes.
So the leader has to be empathetic. Even I would say it's not the responsibility of the leader only, it's the responsibility of the colleagues and the teachers as well. Again, I'll be referring to schools only, because the teacher also has to be empathetic that the leader might be in a situation which we may not be able to understand. So going back to and respect, collaboration, absolutely no culture can thrive, no institution can thrive until and unless they collaborate in terms of internally they work with each other. But there are situations, there are many situations where we feel that what should we do? How can we overcome those? What are the personality traits that can help me overcome a difficult situation? So I'm going to go back to the presentation in a minute. Yes. Just a second. Yes, is it visible? Is the presentation visible?
Ma'am, we can
Mentimeter?
still see the Mentimeter. Yeah, now
right. We're going on to the talking points.
Yes, visible.
Thank you. So we talked about what institutional culture means. And when I looked at the answers through the Mentimeter app, I could see that many of us have a very good, fair idea what it means. But still, we are here to further strengthen our understanding when it comes to the foundations of a strong school structure, culture. The school culture is about norms. The moment you say school, there are norms that come to our mind. But those norms are developed over time. They're based on shared attitudes, values, beliefs, expectations, relations, and traditions of a particular school that cause it to function and react as it does. Now, what are those 6 components? The 6 components, they talk about a vision, and it talks about values. It incorporates practices, people, narrative, which we'll discuss in a bit detail, and the place. The place is well explained through the initial images. So the vision is actually, it's a great culture that starts with a vision, a mission statement. And it simply turns the whole school values and provides every person a purpose so that the employees can take a decision keeping that vision in mind. The values are the core of the culture. While the vision articulates the school's purpose, the values offer a set of guidelines that how can I achieve that purpose? Suppose a Rangoli competition is supposed to take place, or suppose there is a farewell party that has to be arranged for the class 12 students. At times, we all end up discussing, and children end up comparing, that school has a farewell party with a DJ. Another school has a farewell party with a havan. Does that mean that the havan is a symbol that the school is not progressive? These are thought processes that happen at the school student level. But we need to understand that the culture is deep-rooted and it depends upon the founders and the top leaders of the school, whether they believe in that particular vision, way of celebrating a farewell party. So it may vary from school to school, But it does not mean that if one school does it this way and the other school does it the other way, there's a difference in the their progressive approach. They are progressive, but they maybe want to cling on to stay connected to the roots of our culture, Indian culture, I mean. The practices, of course, values are of little importance unless they are enshrined in a school's practices. Practices again, until and unless I don't believe that this is the vision of the school, that it aims at providing education at a minimal amount in comparison to other schools around the society, around the vicinity, we will conduct such activities that might enable even the EWS category students to participate. So the practices we conduct have to be keeping in mind the vision of the school. The people must embrace it. They must believe in it. Only then they would be there connected with that institution for a long time. And the narrative talks about the history of the school. Every school has a unique history. Every school has to keep that in mind as a core element whenever it conducts any practice, whenever it conducts any activity. And the place, it depends, like Gurukuls. Gurukuls, everybody at that time in that era, they believed that the student, the pupil has to sit one level below than the facilitator. So that's another way of, the moment you walk into such a place, a Gurukul, you'll understand that this is the culture of that school. So in a way, we can say that the foundations of a school culture talk about mission, the vision, the procedures, the routines. Routine, like every morning when we were kids, we used to always have a morning prayer and a lunch prayer. Those are routines. Promoting great character so that people who are maybe truthful, you highlight that in a class. Service learning. Our school, the motto of our school was service before self. And that was enshrined in our hearts. No matter what activity we would do, it would be simple, like even if we are doing a coloring activity, maybe my partner doesn't have enough colors, I'll share it with them. I'll maybe bring an extra sandwich for my partner. So these are things that I remember when I was at school time. So they were enshrined in our hearts. Student leadership, conflict resolution, which is really important. It comes down to negotiation skills. It comes down to transactional analysis. It comes down to understanding each other on an empathetic basis. Mentoring. Mentoring need not only be teacher to student. It can also be among students. Make one of them a leader. Tell them to do a group teamwork job. Lead the team. In fact, our ALS projects had facilitated that, right, Himani? We had a good time mentoring, teaching our students how to be mentors by leading the group. Behavioral management plan. So it all comes down to how do I zero in on this? Because while researching, Harvard Business Review talks about 6 great components of a corporate culture. Now, why corporate culture and why not school culture? We can imbibe the same in our own schools, because Harvard Business Review is a benchmark. It must have been zeroed in on those 6 components, which we had already talked about over here. They are all the same: the vision, the value, the practices, the people, the narrative, and the place. Harvard Business Review states that it is not only these 6. In fact, there are a number of more values that affect the culture of an institute. But these are the most important ones according to their review. So why is it important? It's important because it's essential for effective leadership. Now, if I say I'm not going to adhere to the culture of the school, I will not be able to be an effective leader. Employee engagement, healthy team environment, it fortifies a strong brand identity. Brand, even our school is a brand. It's not in terms of corporate language only. It encourages application of strategies effectively. It helps achieving both personal and organizational goals. And it encourages introduction of innovation ideas. I feel this is most important because the school will not be able to progress and evolve until and unless new ideas are not given an ear. And positive learning can take place only in a positive culture. That's why the moment you saw Twitter, the moment you saw Disneyland, the moment you saw the other image in which somebody was scolding someone, you knew where would you like to work? Where would you like to learn? So the traits, how are the traits important? There are a number of traits, but we'll be concentrating on integrity, which I feel is of utmost importance, collegiality, honest communication, and empathy. Apart from the 4 that I have cited, these are a few others, including those 4. Experimentation, that would be innovation, high expectations, trust and confidence, tangible support, that means we need, apart from just educational support or educators, we need to have support of different resources, reaching out to the knowledge base, appreciation and recognition works as good for us as it does for children, caring and celebration, humor. This is of utmost importance because until there is no humor, people don't connect. Even if you see speeches by well-known personalities, you'll find a streak of humor in their speech, and that is what connects them to the masses. The involvement in decision-making, it has to be a democratic setup. Protection of what's important. Traditions. Being progressive doesn't mean you leave your traditions behind. You move along with them. Honest and open communication. So when we talk about integrity in a workplace, it means honor, it means trust, honesty. It's the foundation on which the colleagues build relationships and trust and effective interpersonal relationships. When we talk about internal integrity, your honesty at the deepest level. Honesty, is your honesty just good for listening, or do you really live your life with honesty? And external fidelity, it is who you are portraying yourself as around you. If your actions are consistent with your thoughts and what you say, then you have your own honesty. If you say one thing, but your activity means something else, we need to work on that. Image integrity, it talks about like external integrity. The picture of your integrity, when you display the right steps outward and show the right path, can these tasks be considered in any other way? No, they can't. So don't publicize negativity. That's something that doesn't work in the work culture. Be accountable for your work. If everybody is accountable for their work, I think so the culture and the institution would be a better place to work. Give credit where due. This is something which we usually do not do. Collegiality, strong and healthy collegial relationships among school teachers so that they can achieve common goals, encourage cooperative work, measure success, and even align individual and departmental goals. Collegiality means working together happily and ensuring that each other are able to achieve that goal which is given to them. Honest communication, we need to be open to new ideas, be tolerant, develop an inclusive approach, and agree to disagree. Agree to disagree is of utmost importance, because at times we may not have the same opinion, but how do we put forward that opinion that is of great value? Empathy, we have discussed that. It talks about employees who are empathetic are much more successful. They will go a long way. It has a compounding effect and a reciprocal effect as well. Leaders, not only leaders, but even employees have to develop active listening skills. The onus doesn't lie only with the leader, it lies with the employees as well. Not be judgmental and read non-verbal cues. So I would like to just say, there are some questions that should be up here. You need to be authentic, but respectful of institutional culture. You are unique. If you are unique and if you are yourself, you'll be more relaxed, you'll be more confident, you'll be more powerful, and you'll be more convincing. But at the same time, we have to remember that we cannot ignore the institutional culture. We are working there, and we have to not only adapt to it, but we have to contribute to it so that the culture improves and becomes a happy place to work. So that's what I had to share. And there might be some questions that Himani might have noted down. If there is any such question, I'd be happy to answer them and go ahead with it.
Thank you, Ritu ma'am. First of all, I'm sure, on behalf of everyone, I could say that it wouldn't be an exaggeration, that it was an honor to be a part of this webinar. Your words of wisdom have definitely added on to the intellectual pursuits of our esteemed participants. We had some queries by our participants. The question asked is, should we try to adapt our personalities to succeed in an evolving workplace?
Okay. So adapt our personalities. That means, it means they're thinking that we have to totally change our personalities, right? But there's one thing that I would like all of you to remember, the last slide. We have to be authentic. Authentic to whom? Authentic to ourselves. There is something sacred about each one of your personality. It's unique to you. It makes you who you are. So the question is that should we change it totally just because we have to work in a place? I think so. It's being wrongly understood. I believe that we can gradually adapt some specific personality traits. We're not changing our overall personality. We're just adapting some traits and their expressions with self-awareness, with a focused effort, and with a lot of practice. Tell me, we all are parents, we're teachers, we are employees. And don't we implicitly know that if a change makes us better, shouldn't we be working towards achieving it? For example, if a school says you have to be punctual on time, what's the harm in that? But you can't just stick on to say that, no, this is me, I am going to get up at this time. So integrity also counts, that you have to be true to your value system. But it doesn't mean an overall change of personality. You are an employee and they do expect some kind of dedication, certain rules to be followed. Otherwise, it would be a chaos if there would not be any rules or there would not be any discipline. I hope that answers.
Certainly, ma'am. There's one question Arun sir has asked. Is it right if a school imposes a particular religious culture to the students and teachers of that school? Isn't a school's culture supposed to impart equality?
A school's culture is supposed to impart equality, definitely. But at the same time, it is supposed to show respect to a particular culture. In case the school follows a particular religion, the person who has taken admission in that school already knows the culture of that school. So it is expected that if the student or the parent has admitted his child in that school, he must have done his homework. He must have found out that, yes, this school follows the culture of a particular religion, customs of a particular religion. Then the call is his. The onus lies on the parent. The onus doesn't lie on the institute because that is its culture. It's a history that it has been maintaining. It follows that religion, but it does not preach other religions not to be worthy to be followed. I hope that satisfies an answer.
I'm sure, ma'am. Ma'am, there's another pertinent question. It says, isn't personality fixed? Isn't one born with it? Can we change our personalities?
Okay, so this is usually a misconception that this is the personality we are born with. Fine. Now, I would say, don't different environments affect your personality as you grow from a child to an adult? As you grow, there are certain personality traits that tend to shift. It could be majorly due to some negative life events. It could be due to some positive life events. It could definitely, a personality is impacted by the experiences it has across his lifetime. And if you ask me, the environment does play a role. It does. And if you're willing to focus on one aspect of yourself and you're willing to go at it systematically, you'll always find that that change will be a welcome change. Why do we have to stick to it that this is my personality, I'm not going to change? We have to learn how to take the positives from what the world has to offer to us. Any other question? I'd be happy to answer that.
Yes, ma'am. There's one question that says, how can one bring about discipline without being rigid? I think it's quite relevant here.
It's quite relevant because discipline, we can't do without discipline. But rigidity means that there is arrogance involved. Arrogance cannot be a part of discipline. And being rigid means you are not empathetic, you are not ready to understand the other person's situation. And at this point, I'd like to make a point of the three ego states: parent, adult, and child. No matter whether we are supposed to follow a disciplined life in the school, suppose a particular colleague is not ready to adjust to that. It depends upon what state do we come down to. Are we going to act like a parent? Are we going to act like an adult? Are we going to act like a child? So when I say child, it doesn't mean childish, it means childlike. So this is a separate, totally separate topic, but I will not go into those details. So discipline and rigidity. Discipline is with arrogance, not looking at anybody's feelings, and rigidity is stooping a bit low. Sorry, it's the other way around. Rigidity is not looking at anybody's feelings, and discipline is stooping a bit low. Yes, giving a little empathetic approach to the whole situation and then adjusting it.
Ma'am, continuing with the same idea, we have a question here. There is a notion that a teacher of English language is a strict one. How can we bring a change in that notion?
I would like to ask, do you think I'm an English teacher? what image do I project as an English teacher? I think so. Even Himani over here, these are all myths. I hope this session is able to break that myth as well. We have a smile on our face. We English teachers do smile. So answering your question, English teachers are supposed to be straight. Why? Because it's a tough job teaching a second language to a non-native speaker. But at the same time, as I said at the very beginning, if your session is not full of fun, no matter how many qualifications or certificates you have, you're not going to connect to the students. Apart from the 21st century 4 skills, there's one more skill which I believe in, and that's a 6-letter word, that's caring. And caring can be depicted only if you smile a lot in a session. So I hope I've answered that question.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, a quick question. I felt it is very pertinent as educators. Can you tell us how we can agree to disagree in a very positive manner?
Absolutely. In fact, do you think, first of all, quickly, it can be anybody who can answer, is it okay to disagree? Is it okay to disagree? It's okay to disagree. Everybody is not going to agree on everything. So, again, this is soft skills, this is negotiation skills. Again, it comes to a deeper topic. So when you have to show your disagreement, it has to be in a respectful manner. When I talk about a democratic workplace, when I talk about a democratic class, I tell my students, you can disagree with me, but the only condition is you have to be respectful, because yes, there is a thin line between me being a friend and me being a teacher. So the similar way, when I am addressing my superior, I cannot be disrespectful. There has to be a benchmark, a limitation to which you can express it. And always, I'll just give you a quick tip. It should never be a you statement. Usually, what do we say? I think so, you are incorrect. So the moment you say you, it's a blame game. So the moment you say, I feel I would have liked this situation to be like this. So you have not pointed a finger to anybody. So it should be a we. You're taking the onus. You're talking about your feelings. You're not talking about his decision that is wrong. So this is another chapter of soft skills, which talks about negotiation skills and talk right sessions. Yes.
Dear participants, if you have any other question, you can virtually raise your hand. We'll unmute you and you may ask your questions.
Sushma ma'am has a question.
Yes. Sushma ma'am, are you able to unmute yourself?
Yes, thank
Yeah,
you so
we can hear
much.
you. Yeah.
Ma'am, I would like to thank you for such an enriching session, first of all. And I have one doubt, how is motto? So when you go to schools, where I have worked in different schools, they put up words like, as you said, the history, the narrative. Now I'm able to relate each and every point, everything comes in my mind when you speak about narrative, when you speak about vision. And how is vision different from motto?
So the motto, for example, the vision is much more broader. It is much more futuristic. And the motto is what you have to do today to achieve that vision. So the motto is, what are the qualities I want? Like my school was service before self. So service before self meant that no matter what activity I do, I have to keep this in mind, that it should not, I should not be treading on somebody's shoes. I should be giving more opportunities to someone. So that was always instilled. So the goals, the vision is broader. It is futuristic. Whereas the motto tells us what to do to reach that goal, that vision.
Ma'am, continuing with the same thought, I saw one of the comments by Madam Neeta Singh. She says, I think we should include counseling as a measure to connect with students. We also have to look after students with special needs. That is what she,
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, counseling should be a part of not only the responsibility of a school counselor, it has to be a part and parcel of every teacher, because the special needs child is going to be a part of my regular class. And it should be the one more addition could be that the school counselor even counsels the teachers how to deal with the special needs child. If we are able to do that, wouldn't the classroom be a much more healthier environment for those students? In fact, I'll just quickly narrate an incident. Just recently in our school, the school counselor had conducted a session, a webinar with the students. Now, some of the students had no idea that this is how the special needs child feels like. And they had written such wonderful reflections. We take reflections usually at times, and they had written such wonderful reflections, which we've jotted it down in the newsletter also, that we never thought of it in this manner. So it's the other way around. The school counselor should be also teaching the existing teachers also how to deal with such students in the class. Wonderful question, ma'am. Very dear to my heart. It has something to do with you have to be kind, you have to be considerate, and definitely, thank you.
thank you, ma'am, for patiently answering all our questions and helping us out, dispelling our thoughts. Ma'am, I would like to extend a gratefulness and appreciation on behalf of everyone to Madam Ritu Bhandari for broadening our horizons and by regaling us with boundless discourse. I'm sure we will apply these tenets in our modus operandi and reap maximum benefit out of it. Dear participants, kindly note the link for certificate and feedback form has been already posted. You're requested to fill up the form with all the necessary details.
Miss Sita has a question, it seems.
Yes, sir. I'll just check. Yes, sir. Ma'am Sita, can you please unmute yourself? I think you're unmuted.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
It was a wonderful session.
Thank you.
Wonderful session.
Thank you.
And it is something so close to my heart. That's why, although there has been a recently very sad death of a very young person, so I'm in mourning. But when I read your the topic, and when I knew that Ritu ma'am is going to give very valuable points, I said I must join.
Thank you.
Here, what I wanted to actually bring is I'm actually a maths teacher, okay, and I found that there was such a lot of turmoil in children, 9th, 10th and all. And when I would sit with them, they wanted to talk to me. Okay. And I used to take time off in spite of whatever maths we did. And it so much so happened that all my students, they remember me not at all for my maths. The school wouldn't be happy about it, but for all the love, compassionate hearing I gave them. Okay, so I felt, it's very important that, in fact, once when I went to the class, it was like normally I don't shout and all. I just enter, they become quiet. Okay, that day they were particularly very disturbed. I asked them, what is it thing? Something had happened and they wanted to speak about it. I stopped maths. I said, let me listen. So here, ma'am, I want to ask you that neither the teachers, they are having a lot of challenges. Nobody is listening to them, nor the students. We do not have any structured this thing where we are giving them a hearing. So how do we incorporate this?
Ma'am, the most important thing that you yourself have said, that we need to listen to them. We don't need a structure for that. in our own classes, we can keep aside a few minutes so that we talk to them. In fact, in a whole week, one class we can give to them.
Yes.
Despite the fact we might have syllabuses to cover, courses, chapters to do.
Yes.
But as I said, apart from the 4 21st century skills, the more important skill is caring. The moment you listen to them, which you hats off to you, you're already, and I am sure hundreds of teachers are already doing that. Nobody has asked them to listen to their students. And the moment they do that, you connect. And I'm very sure you must have students that connect with you even after they pass.
Totally.
So I feel there's no need for a structure. This is something humane that I think so every teacher is doing on their own behalf. Already they're doing it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the question.
A very relevant question, Sita ma'am, and beautifully answered, Ritu ma'am. Dear participants, I repeat, the link for certificate and feedback form has been already posted in the chat box. You're requested to fill up the form with all the necessary details. I, Himani Bakshi, along with the CBSE Bharat Sahodaya Complex, would like to thank Madam Ritu Bhandari once again for her gracious presence and an enriching experience. I can vouch that all of us have had a lot to gain today. Also, I would like to extend our thanks and gratitude to Dr. Abdul Salam for his magnanimous support and guidance. Thank you, sir, for such a great opportunity. Also, a big thank you to the technical team, Arun Mohan sir and Arafat sir, for a flawless execution of today's session.